Let's go ahead and stop some oil leaks and put some fresh plugs and wires on this Mazda Miata. Welcome back to the Auto Obsessive Garage. Chadwick with you again for another installment of Project Mariner Blueberry. And it doesn't get easier to say each time. Still kind of funny. Anyway, what we're doing today is where we should go in logical order if you acquired a Mazda Miata that needs some work, really any car that needs some work, is we should address the issues. Now last time we did replace a lot of hoses that were cracked, leaking. Issues like that should be addressed right up front. And oil leaks are no exception. It's not okay. It's not a normal thing, guys. Hey, it's cool. It leaves a couple oil spots wherever I park. No, that's an issue. We should probably address that. Am I guilty of that? Maybe 50% of my fleet leaks something. But anyway, we want to take care of those leaks because they can lead to more problems further down the line. On this Miata, we definitely have some leaks around the valve cover, pretty standard stuff, and the cam angle sensor in the back, also pretty standard stuff. So we'll take care of both those leak areas, see if there's anything else going on, slap a new valve cover gasket on there. But also, the spark plugs and wires look pretty old, and I don't really recognize them, so always put some quality stuff in. We've got some NGK plugs and wires we're gonna install. So I think that's gonna make our Miata a lot more reliable, and a lot more happy. Let's get into the garage and get some work done. Time to knock out the valve cover gasket on the Miata. We're gonna be doing plugs, wires, the cam angle seal in the back, which is a common leaking point. If you have oil going down the back of your Miata, 9 times out of 10, it's that and not just the valve cover. It can be the valve cover back there, but usually it's that guy. There is an O-ring, so we'll go over doing that. We're actually gonna clean up a lot of that back of the engine while we're back there. You cannot get too much access with all this stuff in the way, so we'll get this out of the way. Obviously, you're pulling all these valve cover bolts off, you got your PCV and some breather hoses, standard stuff for an engine like this. We'll take all that out of the car. When you do get this off, you can shine a light down there and see also if your cam gear seals are leaking. Pretty common thing, if you have a lot of oil going down the front, usually that's the culprit. I mean, obviously the valve cover can leak there too, but these guys, it's all about leaks. So let's get rid of these ones. We're gonna start by pulling the valve cover, doing that and that O-ring. As we all know, the first time we usually get to see the insides of our engine, or at least some of the internals, are when we pop that valve cover off, and so far, I'm pretty happy. Pretty clean in there, nice golden hue. Not a lot of sludge or obvious issues indicating poor oil change intervals, so I'm happy with all of that. Also looking around the front here, it does look like the cam gear seals aren't the culprit of the oil down the front. There is oil right here in the middle, indicative that the valve cover was leaking. Now I know the valve cover was an issue because there was oil leaking down everywhere in this engine, so here we go from the side, you can see how nice it looks. So obviously you want to clean this off, this old surface. We'll sop up any of this oil that leaked past the old gasket. Then you want to be really careful when you're taking this cam sensor off back there because there is a lot of grime. You can see that nasty amount of grime on it. You don't want any of that falling into your valve train. So just be careful popping those 12mm bolts off. We're going to pull that out. And you'll see the O-ring underneath. Clearly the O-ring has failed. The back of the engine, it's hard to see back there on the Miata. That's one of the most challenging things is the back of the engine is pretty close to the firewall, hard to see. But I can assure you there is a waterfall of oil from that cam seal. And that's usually the case. It's hard to get to, so a lot of people don't do it, or they don't notice the oil because they're not looking on the rear of the engine. So that's gonna be a thing we do. So not bad. Not bad under here. The old valve cover gasket was, I don't know if it's just a crappy gasket or what, but it was not holding too well. So again, I don't like to use too much RTV. I will use RTV on these corners. And then I'll use it over that cam angle sensor lobe in the back. Same with these lobes up front, just like I do with any dual overhead cam engine of this era. It's just a little incentive and it helps, because those are your standard leak points. And the first thing before you do start loosening anything, you want to kind of scribe where the sensor attaches to the top of the head here. You can usually use something sharp, just scribe a straight line. You can use a marker too if you don't want to permanently mark your vehicle. I like to scribe a hard line, that way you know it's always there. I'm gonna clean the unit a little bit when I have it out, so it's always nice to have something you know you're not gonna wash off. Now for removal, you just have this 12mm bolt back here, so just get something back there to loosen that bad boy up, pop the unit out, and then we'll go from there. So here's our cam angle sensor outside of the car. You can see the O-ring located right here, and that seals that oil. This is the part that's under the valve cover from getting out. And clearly we've had an issue with oil getting by, I'd say. So time to replace that O-ring. Now when you pry it out, I do suggest using a plastic hook or a wooden toothpick or something to that effect. You do not want to scratch up that sealing surface in there. Pretty straightforward though. Just get the old O-ring out, clean it up, put the new O-ring on. I'm going to clean this whole unit because it is so disgusting. On top of that, this little thing here is going to be your arch enemy at the end of the day, because this has to slide on to the cam. It attaches to the cam under there in just the right way. So my advice for you guys when you're going to install it, get a small inspection mirror that you can stick back there to see the alignment, see how the cam currently is in the engine, and that way you can slide this in quite easily because this needs to go in just the right way. So I'm going to clear this off, put the new O-ring on. Cam angle sensor all cleaned up. Time to put our new O-ring on. So let's go ahead and unpackage that. Look at that, nice fit. And here's the old O-ring. You can see it snapped when I used my plastic hook. This is indicative that the old O-ring was really old, dried out. That's what rubber gaskets do. So good time to get that out of there. And we got a fresh one on our unit. It's the happiest moment when it clicks right in. You can actually peek if you have a bright light shining from the front. You can actually see where it's going into the cam. So that's another little hint. Boom, perfect. Now, just time to tighten everything down. Time to put our RTV in the designated spots and we'll slap that new valve cover on. Time to get those old plugs out of there and put some new wires in as well. All right guys, for the plugs, no surprise here, just NGKs. We're using the BKR6E11s. And for plug wires, again, no surprises on hand today guys. Just the NGK wire set. It works. All right, let's get those old plugs out, see what we're working with. Looks like they were running a Denso plug. Not sure why. Doesn't look too bad though. Probably been there a little bit. But yeah, a Denso plug, interesting. So, pop those out, we'll put some NGKs in. Engine set, that's a plus. Time for wires. Now, the Mazda Miata is a little different than some cars. These aren't perfectly in order, so you have 4, 1, 2, 3. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4 for cylinders. I do love how the NGKs are numbered too. That is such an awesome thing.